here, and we got a next topic that's going to be crazy. It's called. We're going to call this little section right now Grimm's Controversy Corner. So
it's not controversy. People will understand where I'm
so,
coming from, man.
So
they
Grimm's
will.
got an interesting topic. We'll let Grimm lead this off.
All right, we good?
Yeah.
All right. So the idea of this conversation is simple. I feel that gaming as a whole is getting worn down and held down by these big budget companies spending too much money on marketing and ripping each other off and not enough on the actual game development. And my basis for this is, for example, a while back, you heard the delusion that Destiny cost $500 million to make. That game didn't cost $500 million to make. It cost like $300 million to freaking market. And they blew most of their budget on marketing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to discuss with you guys how you feel and if you're in agreement with me on this situation. I'll use Anthem right now. That game looks cool as hell, but it also looks like someone saw Destiny and said, copy that immediately. Make a better version of Destiny because everybody has to have their Destiny game now.
No, I granted. Okay. And yeah, I do agree with you, but that's always going to happen. Art imitates art. That's just natural. That's not so much a problem. I think the problem is, like, marketing costs so much nowadays. Most of these budgets go to marketing. They don't go to actual game development.
Yep.
So that's where a bigger problem is.
I gotta say, I was confused watching this Anthem trailer. I wasn't sure if I was watching Destiny or something else. Like, I'm like, this is weird. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this is the same creators as oh my god, why am I Mass Effect. Thank you,
Mass Effect.
I'm like, this is weird. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. But a lot of games take a lot of themes from other games.
Yeah.
Like the whole tower thing. I forget what game started the whole tower thing. I think it might have been Assassin's Creed. Started the whole tower thing where you get to a tower, it unlocks part of the map.
And then every single open world game had to have that crap in it, and no one's original about it.
And then it got perfected when Breath of the Wild came out. Breath of the Wild actually did it right. Where you actually get to a tower, you unlock an area. It doesn't tell you any quests or anything. You have to figure it out on your own. But it unlocks part of the map, but that's it. The rest of it's up to you. All these other games were unlocking, telling you all these quests to make you feel like you had to go do that. Where Breath of the Wild was like, oh yeah, you can go explore that now if you want.
It's not just with marketing too. It's with focus groups, publicists, all this crap that has gotten in. And the reason why I bring this up most importantly is because at this E3, I saw 2 games from companies with budgets. Maybe the game's got a $50 million at most, and that was Ni no Kuni 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Both of these games look massive in scale and the amount of content. They look really beautiful. They look like AAA games. Their budget's a fraction of a game like Battlefield. And you look at Battlefield and you ask yourself, how do they spend so much money on that game just to make 8 maps and a short 5 to 6 hour single player mode? And I know Battlefield's a good game. I'm not saying it's not. But you look at other games and you go, they do the same thing with far less. Where are they wasting all this freaking money on? Because they're clearly blowing millions of dollars on nothing.
I can tell you a big part of actually where they're wasting. Obviously, probably get half of the budget's marketing. And then you got the AAA titles like Call of Duty and a lot of these other big studios. A lot of these developers are only in there for part-time, and they're really well-known developers. They get these people in there, but these people want a huge salary because they're only going to be there for a few months doing the game, and then that's it. They're gone.
Yeah.
They demand the
cost of game rendering and game programming is just it's unreal how much it costs for somebody going like this.
Well, yeah,
compared to actors actually doing things.
Well, if you got a really good program, if you're really efficient and your code works really well,
and
you're known in the industry, writing really good code,
you'll get the money.
Can put a huge bid for your salary and they'll pay it.
But here's a question then: if that's the case, why are they hiring these guys? And before you say, well, because that's the talent, I'll point out that these other companies, like, for example, the guys who make Horizon Zero Dawn, again, their budget was only $50-60 million. They clearly are not buying these overpriced, full of their self-developers, but they still made probably one of the best games this year, top 3.
Right, but at the same time, if you think about it, these lower budget ones that are like $50 million, the writers and stuff, they're probably promising them a portion of the proceeds of their profit after
it sells.
It sells.
Perfectly fine. It still made a better game without wasting a ton of
Right,
money.
I
Now,
think
who
that-
developed that? Who made that game?
Guerrilla Games made that.
What else have they made?
They've made all the Killzone games.
Okay.
That were the only games they made. So let me put this in perspective to get my point across. So you look at Battlefield. That thing sells what? 12 million every time it releases, right? They forcefully
it sells
About that, yeah.
and they drop these stupid expansion packs where they put like 4 maps in, and they claim you have to buy this because they don't make enough money. Then you look at like Killzone. Killzone 2 sells 3 million copies. They clearly made enough money to release all the maps for free, and they released they made a third game without lowering the budget. But the third game sells about 3 million, and they make a fourth game, sells about 3 million. So they never break more than 3-4 million copies with their games, yet they still make some of the highest quality games, and they're not ripping off their fan base.
Well, it's not.
And I don't see how it costs these people so much to make these games.
It's the salaries. It's these developers.
Yeah, developers.
Oh, they must play their people well at Guerrilla because they don't know them quit. Like they have a studio they've had for a long time.
Well,
I think it's all in marketing.
When you're a team of people and everything seems to work, don't fix what's not broken.
Yeah.
I mean, look at CD Projekt Red. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Like they got no one supporting them. They're like, we'll just make the greatest game ever made. Here's The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like games like Call of Duty and stuff, those other AAA games, there's an original code that they've been using. Okay, so that original code still stands, and they just have to bring in new developers every year. But these developers are just getting on the market. They've already have somewhat of a reputation. They want a lot of money, so they bid for their money. They get in there for a few months, write their game for them, then they're gone, and that's where all your budget went.
But that also works in the other way too, Nate, because what that says to me is that, for example, Call of Duty's been on the same engine for 15 years. They don't have any development costs behind making their engine, which should cut their costs.
That's not broken.
Yeah, they don't.
So yes, so why? So
They just
shouldn't that
enhance
cut
it.
the cost? Like
No.
it's like, I swear, every time they make a new game, they cut the cost of to make the game, and they put all that money into marketing.
Well,
And that's why
a
you
lot
see
of it.
$500 million Destiny marketing cost to make their game, and you just kind of flabbergasted. That's impossible.
Another thing is with the whole, it only came with 8 maps type of thing. One thing I have noticed is, yes, there may be only 8 maps, and other games came out with 16 in the past or something, but for some reason, we're always playing the same damn map.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Everybody likes this specific map, Nuketown. You're always in Nuketown.
Oh yeah. When you go to Call of Duty, most time people want Nuketown.
Yeah, some things like that. Everybody always leans towards this one map, and it's usually the first map that anybody plays in the game, and that's all they play, and they master it.
Well, that could go. I can do a whole psychological discussion why that happens. Oh, we don't get
Here you go. Here you go. Right there. $47 million to make Horizon Zero Dawn. Can anybody who's seen that game?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Look at that and go, oh yeah, that's nowhere near as good as a
game?
Battlefield. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Like
You look at that game. You look at that game,
What
and
was that online one we were playing? That was in space.
you look at that game, and there's no way you see 47. If these budgets are so big, and it costs like 200, 300 million to make a Battlefield game, and then you look at Horizon and go, no, that makes no sense.
Now is that 46 million in total, or is that just what they got paid? What did they pay for advertising?
No, that's their budget for the entire game.
But that's a budget. That's not what they actually spent, though.
Yeah,
But if you type in Destiny budget and shit, you get the other shit.
All right. But yeah.
That was their entire work budget to make that game.
Yeah, but that was just their budget. And we might not actually know they're at the amount they spent. Their accountants might only be the ones that know that.
Yeah.
What they actually spent.
But if I know anything about, like, if there's one thing I know about Sony, they don't blow money on this plays into the rest of my conversation. Sony doesn't blow money on marketing as much as people think, as much as other companies. And you could see this because, for example, you take Microsoft. Remember Sunset Overdrive? Great game. Sold about 2.5 million. They considered that a failure, not making another one. All right? Why is it a failure? They must have blown
Sunset
so much
Overdrive
money.
was a failure.
It wasn't bad.
Well,
I heard. It wasn't that bad.
No, the game was very good. I'm saying they looked at the sales and said, we didn't make enough money. That's what I'm saying.
No.
So their budget must have been
pretty cool.
so insane that 2.5 million wasn't enough to recover the cost. But then you look at a game like Bloodborne, which is just as good as Sunset Overdrive. That game only sold 2 million, and they're like, "Oh, it was an excellent profit." So you got to wonder, where did that extra money go? Like, how did they screw that up so that Sunset Overdrive's a failure, but another game that sold less isn't? When they both had a pretty big budget.
About it, Sunset Overdrive, if you think about it, they had what, 47 million?
No, Horizons were.
No, Sunset Overdrive. I'm not sure what that cost was.
All right. Well, if they only made 2 million off it, then that was just enough for the programmers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying they made 2 million. I mean, they sold 2 million copies of the game.
Oh, okay.
All right.
The Sunset Overdrive sold 2.5. What I'm saying is, why is 2.5 considered a loss on the money so that they can't make a sequel? But a game that had pretty much the same budget, Bloodborne, selling 2 million, was a success and made money. And it's because Microsoft blew so much money on marketing
Well, they might have
Sunset.
had less people making that game.
That too, but you also got to think of something. All right, it sold 2 million, whatever, but you also got to think about how it sold. It could have, like, first 3 months could have sold like 500,000, and then it dropped off for like a month, and then 2 or 3 months later it sold another 50,000. It's just that fluctuation of how it goes up and down and peaks, and they're comparing that to the other games, you know. So like the other game that you're talking about, that had the same exact budget in an exact same period of time, in 3 months, knock it up.
I am comparing the early
they
sales.
sold 1 million.
Their early sales were both around 2 million in their early sales. Like, I'm comparing their early sales.
They both were about 2 million in the early sales, but what about before they said one was a flop and one wasn't? You know.
I have nothing to say this topic because I'm kind of because I'm stuck on the thought you just said that Sunset Overdrive was a good game. I'm sorry.
Okay, Grim.
Bloodborne was a better game than Sunset Overdrive. I hated
Sunset
Overdrive.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Oh my God.
All I'm saying is that sales-wise,
Yeah.
I don't see how Microsoft lost money on Sunset Overdrive, and that's what brings me to the biggest problem with the AAA industry. Because a lot of games that are good games that are selling 2 million, 2.5 are getting snuffed out by these big-time developers because they're blowing so much money on excess shit instead of just making the game.
Now, what I'm wondering is, okay, I was reading, how long did it take to make Destiny? How many years did they spend?
I'm not sure.
2 years?
Let me see.
I'm wondering if, okay, they got $47 million for Horizon, right? It took them 6 years to make that game. So they weren't rushed. I wonder when I'm wondering if when companies rush the people to make these games that they're paying them more.
Of course they are.
Get this done. We'll give you $2.2 million this week.
Well, those stories come out all the time because a lot of people quit because they can't take the long hours because they're saying, we're giving you, because they're paid on salary. They come in when they're told.
Yeah.
And they're like,
well, I got your thing right here. I got your proof right here.
Yeah,
they had 500 people working on Destiny. Yeah. That game didn't need 500 people making it.
No.
It didn't need that many people. How many people did you have doing redundant jobs? Have you played Destiny? The thing has less content. It's got less content than the first continent of World of Warcraft. Like the first 4 sections.
It's so small.
And you're telling me it took 500 people to make that?
No, I know. But what it is, like, a lot of these people, like, they work salary, so they're told, hey, you're working a 15-hour day tomorrow. There's no question you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna need you to come in 4 hours later after that.
We're paying you a lot of money.
Yeah.
You got to get this done within 2 years. All right.
Yeah.
Versus these other guys at Horizon were like, we got plenty of time.
And I would say a good portion of those people probably are just bug testing, because bug testing takes a long goddamn time.
Oh yeah.
and yet other games just don't have 500 people.
I agree with Gumbo here. Why do you need 500 people?
Yeah, you don't need 500.
Let me put this in real perspective for you. Final Fantasy 15 took 10 years and was remade twice. Okay? They remade the game twice, and it broke even on day one, Squaresoft said. They said, oh, we made our money back on day one with the 4 million sales on day one. You're going to tell me that it cost $500 million to make Destiny over 3 years, and 10 years down the road, Final Fantasy broke even on day one? Give me a break. You're doing something wrong. Western developers, get your heads out of here. You know what? You're wasting too much money, and you're killing good creative games because of it.
Okay, so that was Grimm's Controversial Corner.